One of the things we're seeing from the COVID-19 crisis is when we had this huge shortage of personal protection equipment, it was very small mom and pop garages making PPE face shields with their 3D printers that they were using just for hobbies, just for fun. This is a glimpse into what the future of manufacturing is going to look like.
I'm with Tom Kelly with Automation Alley in Troy, Michigan, right?
Yeah, hi, Bill. Nice to be with you today. That's right, Troy, Michigan.
You know, we're talking here about what COVID-19 is doing to Automation Alley. What's going on over there?
So Automation Alley, Bill, is Michigan's Industry 4.0 Knowledge Center. So it's all about digitizing for manufacturers, healthcare, agriculture, defense. So, we started on this journey a couple of years ago. And so, thankfully for Automation Alley proper, we've been able to send everybody home, be able to work from home, use tools like Zoom, like Microsoft Teams, and not really miss a beat. However, we have 1,085 members around the state that are part of our community. And quite frankly, the majority of them are manufacturers, and they are struggling right now because a lot of the economy is shut down. And so they're trying to figure out, how do we do this? How do we navigate this new reality?
Well, explain Industry 4.0 to begin with. What is that?
So it really stands for the fourth industrial revolution. So think the first was steam and trains, and the second was Henry Ford created the assembly line. The third was when computers and robotics came onto the scene. And this fourth revolution is really about the digitization of everything, the integration of digital with the physical world. And it's going to be a change like none of the other three have been. And we get glimmers of that. So this fourth industrial revolution is really going to change how businesses interact with customers. So we've been seeing this move along for a long time, but COVID-19 really shocked us into, oh my gosh, people that were prepared for a digital world are prospering, even thriving, and people that weren't prepared for this digital world are really suffering greatly. And so our job, this Industry 4.0, is to help people navigate to this digital world, if you so to speak.
Give me an example where somebody was more digital ready that we've been seeing right now with COVID.
A great example that's perfectly related to COVID is two things. One is companies in the grocery business that had been investing in, how do I set up my system so that I can do home delivery? How do I allow people to shop online and build shopping carts that then gig workers can, through other companies, can come in and shop for them and actually deliver the groceries? So the companies that really had been at the forefront of that really prospered. Another example is manufacturers that had dabbled in 3D printing and were beginning to try and figure out what was possible. All of a sudden, we need massive amounts of PPE, personal protection equipment. And they said, wow, 3D printing, we might have bought this 3D printer to make parts for our auto supply chain, but guess what? We can make parts just as readily for face shields, for masks, for other things. So you saw that they were able to pivot because they had prepared digitally.
Well, what does that say for a lot of the manufacturing done around here in Southeast Michigan? Are they ready to pivot?
Sadly, many are not. And I think this is the wake-up call where our manufacturing community, and it's not about the bigs. If you look at what Ford and GM are doing, they're doing a wonderful job. They understand Industry 4.0. And the tier ones that work with them at a strategic level about how to source parts, they're really understanding it. But those are really global corporations that allocate capital globally. What we're really talking about are the tier 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, the small businesses that we all know and love. They are woefully behind in terms of understanding that the world is digitizing and that they need to become technology companies first that happen to be in the auto parts manufacturing business second. And that's a cultural shift that, quite frankly, we have a great deal of difficulty doing, Bill. If you look at smaller manufacturers, typically they run extremely lean, and we've taught them to be as lean as possible. And so what happens by being lean is you really don't have an R&D department. You don't have a guy standing on the shop floor going, hey, I'm going to experiment today, boss. Is that okay? And they say, over my dead body, I don't have money for that. This is the problem. We're not well prepared because digitization requires a culture of learning. It requires a culture that says, I'm going to experiment with this 3D printer, not expecting that I'm going to make money anytime soon from it. That sometimes for a small manufacturer, because we've been taught to be so lean, that is anathema to the way they think. So it requires us to help shift that mindset. So you really got to pay attention to experimenting.
Where are we compared to other parts of the world that are making parts for cars?
That's a very good question, because I think if you look at what's going on in Germany, in South Korea, in China, even in Mexico, they all have national policies around Industry 4.0, around the digitization of everything. If you ever read China's 2025 policy, it's basically a roadmap to being a digital first country. So in America, we don't really have a digital first strategy because that's not how we function as an economy. We're really a capitalist society that says the best ideas will rise to the top and dominate. But the technology world is changing so quickly that we run the risk of not being able to keep up with these other global competitors that have national strategies. And if you take that to the Detroit level, our small manufacturers need more guidance from all levels, from the federal government as well as from local government and from others within the community on how to really become digital very quickly, because the world is digitizing very quickly.
Well, we're, I guess, in a recession right now. Is that going to put us further behind?
Well, you may very well be right. What my hope is that this recession focuses the mind, so to speak, right? When things are going well, and when you're a small manufacturer, and just 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you were making money, you were so profitable, everything was going great. What happens is when you get a great recession like this, where it's going to be a very painful recession, the silver lining, if there is one, is that it tends to shake the culture to change, and change accelerates. And so what we're seeing and what our expectation is that as we come out of this COVID-19 problem, people are going to be much more interested in automation. They're going to be much more interested in having a digital strategy that allows them to de-risk the business a little better than they've done in the past. That's what we're hopeful for, that this becomes the impetus of change, because the world will be different. Through this COVID-19 crisis, what we found is we got a little too comfortable with China producing everything, so to speak. And so as the world begins to settle back to, we need manufacturing in North America a lot more than we have it to de-risk the entire global supply chain, that's going to play into the hands of companies in Detroit that understand how to be a digital first company and how to participate in that reordering of how the supply chains are going to work. So it's both a risk and an opportunity, as most things in life are.
We hear a lot in the news about, our relationship with China, a lot of it coming out regarding COVID, but a lot of it has to do with trade and industry here. Do you see us catching up with China? Is that what we need to do?
Yeah, well, so I would say we've never been behind China. We're still the leader in terms of innovation. What we decided to give up, which may or may not have been a mistake, was saying, listen, the commodity products, the supply chain for the parts of the car, let's offshore those all the way to China, and we'll keep the smart stuff. And what's happened is China has now become the back office for manufacturing for many, many companies in America. And all of a sudden we found out, wait a minute, the innovation occurs in the plant, because that's how you constantly iterate and improve the product. So we can't allow China to have all the manufacturing. And so that strategy has been slowly evolving even before COVID-19, but now it will be accelerated. And you will see a big push from many manufacturers to reshore back parts of their production. We're not saying all of it comes back. What we're saying is they're going to manufacture in China for Asia. They're going to manufacture in North America for North America. That's an opportunity. And because what's great about Michigan businesses is they really know how to make things high quality, on volume, to very tight tolerances and specifications. Everything is lining up for Michigan to be able to prosper going forward, but only if we understand you have to do it with a digital mindset.
Well, thanks. We're talking with Tom Kelly with Automation Alley. Thanks for spending the time.
Bill, thanks so much for having me.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.